Okay, so today we're going to continue our discussion on the financial statements we were working on for this company, for Advanced Technologies. So we have learned how to construct the statement of cash flows using a template. Using a template, we said, was a very helpful tool in order for us to easily create the financial cash flow, financial statement of cash flows. Then last time we started looking at some measures, the objective of which is for us to assess the operating performance of the firm. Okay, how management was able to increase shareholder value. So first we looked at net operating working capital, which we said was just the difference between your operating current assets and your operating current liabilities. So for operating current assets, uh, we have to exclude those assets that are interest bearing. For example, in this case, we have short-term investments, which is interest bearing, so it's excluded from the operating current assets. And also from the operating current liabilities, we excluded notes payable in this case because notes payable, we said, is interest bearing. So we got the operating current assets, net operating working capital, I mean, for 2020 and for 2019. Okay, so we have NOWC 2020 is 330, and OWC for 2019 is 315. Then we also computed for the total net operating capital, which is just the sum of your net operating working capital, which we computed above, plus your fixed assets. Okay, I said that here the fixed assets should be your net. So we computed for that for 2020, also for 2019. Okay, and we're able to compute now for the investments in TOC. That's the difference between your total operating capital for 2020 and for 2019. So the difference between the two is the investment in total operating capital. Okay. Any questions so far with this one, guys, up to this point? Clear naman to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, yesterday, last meeting, we learned the difference between net income after tax and net operating profit after tax. Okay, we said that in net income after tax, we just go through we exclude or we subtract interest expense from your EBIT. Okay, and then you arrive at your net income after tax, which is your earnings before tax less tax. The difference between your net income after tax and your NOPAT is that in NOPAT, we assume that there's no interest expense because net operating profit after tax seeks to assess the performance of operations. And we said interest expense is not within the province of operations. It's a financing function. So from a responsibility accounting perspective, it's unfair to assess operations if they have no control over interest expense. So we came up with this figure, NOPAT, and we said that the difference is not exactly the interest expense because the NOPAT will have relatively a greater amount of tax compared to net income after tax. Okay, because the interest expense provides leverage. When you say leverage, there's a tax effect. It reduces the tax of the the tax is reduced. Therefore, it has effect on your net income after tax. Okay. So we said that in order to compute for the net operating profit after tax, it's just the same as your EBIT, then netted against the tax rate. So EBIT times 1 minus tax rate. That's how you compute for the NOPAT. So we were able to compute for NOPAT last time, and it's in this case it's 59,520. Okay. Then from your NOPAT, guys, we subtract the investments in TOC, which is this one. Okay. Again, guys, what's investment in TOC? Investments in total operating capital. We say that this is the amount added to operating capital from the beginning of the year up to the end of the year. Okay, so management was provided at the beginning of the year with 630,000 worth of operating capital. At the end of the year, it became 661,500, which means that management was provided additional operating capital of 31,500. Okay, so what we did was that from NOPAT, okay, we subtracted the amount to be used in operating capital, which is 31,500, to get your free cash flow. Okay, the free cash flow is very important. In fact, some would rather look at free cash flow instead of the profit, instead of net income after tax. So I asked you guys last time, what's the purpose? How is free cash flow used? How is free cash flow used? Okay, so let's write here free cash flow. Okay, free cash flow, guys, is the amount of cash available for, sorry for my handwriting, available for distribution, to, I'll just give you a copy of this, guys, if you want. No? Available for distribution to whom? Investors. Investors after deducting cash flow requirements for operations. Okay, let's just break down the this concept. Okay, so in a nutshell, guys, free cash flow is the amount of cash. It's the cash flow available for distribution to investors. When you say investors, who are they? Sino ba yung mga investors ng company, guys? Generally, dalawang klase. Sino-sino sila? Sino-sino?
Creditors.
Okay, correct. You have your, let's first write shareholders, diba? And also the creditors. Okay, I hope that's clear, guys. In fact, diba, ano ba yung basic accounting equation? Basic accounting equation is the total assets. This is the fundamental accounting equation. Total assets is equal to total liabilities plus total equity, right? Total assets is equal to total liabilities plus total equity. It just tells us, guys, that any resource of the organization is either financed by debt, okay, inutang nila, or by contribution of the owners. So this is the contribution of creditors, and this is the contribution of the owners. Okay, clear so far yan, guys? Hello, guys?
Yes po, sir.
I'm sure you have met this several times in your accounting. Basic accounting, no? Yun ang kagad. Total assets is equal to total liabilities plus total equity. So total assets refers to the resources owned by the firm. Now, let's just do a little mathematical arithmetic manipulation here. Okay, if we divide everything by total assets, okay, so what we do on one side, you also do on the other side, right? So we divided everything by total assets. So what's total assets divided by total assets?
Total asset.
What's
One.
1 or 100%, diba? Tama, 1 or 100%. Okay, what do you call this? Total liabilities over total assets. What's that, guys? So this is your Okay? And this is your no? May answer ba dito? Current ratio, okay. The answer is, you're correct, Christian. It's called your debt ratio, no? Debt ratio ang tawag dyan, no? Ito. Total assets over total liabilities, you call it your debt ratio. So this is your debt ratio. And this is your, what's this? This is your equity ratio, no? Equity ratio. And the combination, guys, the combination of your debt ratio and equity ratio is called your, ang tawag sa kanya, or it's also called your, any guess, ano to? Kunyari, 40%, 60%. That's a combination, di ba? 50%, 50%, 70%, 30%. We know that it should total 100%, no? What do you call that? Ano yung term doon? It's called your, may sumugot ba? Yeah, correct, no? Josh, you're correct. It's called your financing mix. So, ang tawag natin dyan, financing mix. Financing mix, or it's called your capital structure. It's called your financing mix or your capital structure. And we said that the role of finance is to make sure that the financing mix or the capital structure should, ano dapat yung financing mix? Should it be 60-40 or should it be 10-90 or 90-10? Okay, there's no one mix that's good for all companies. Walang ganun, no? For some companies, it might be 30%, 70%. For some companies, it might be 50-50. Okay? The role of finance, okay, is to make sure that the financing mix or capital structure is proportioned in such a way that ano, guys, that it should what? It should remember this? Should what? Anyone? Just sound off or just right? Remember this? Day one discussion? Discussion to ng day one, guys. Okay, may answer dito. Okay, correct. Charmaine, that's correct, no? Thank you, Charmaine. It's to maximize shareholder value. Remember, guys, ang main objective ng any firm is the maximization of or optimization of shareholder value. And the finance function should make sure of that. Na any activity, especially those that pertain to finance, should attempt to maximize shareholder value. So babalik talaga tayo dun sa main objective ng isang organization. Okay? So sabi natin, guys, going back here, the free cash flow, okay, it's that amount of cash available for distribution to investors. Okay, to investors after, take note of this, after deducting cash flow requirements for operations. Okay, let's take a look at how free cash flow was computed. Di ba sabi natin dito, ito si free cash flow, it's equal to, so we start with NOPAT, no? We start with net operating profit after tax. Tapos ito yung tinanggal na natin yung interest expense, di ba? And then from your NOPAT, okay, so sasabihin natin, okay, NOPAT, which is 59,520, pero teka muna, ibawas muna natin yung kailangan para sa operating capital. How much was needed, how much was invested in operating capital for 2020? Kasi ang beginning operating capital ng 2020, which is the ending of 2019, is 630. Tapos we needed 6651, no? Ending. Ibig sabihin nag-invest tayo ng 31,500. So yun ang binabawas natin dito, no? From your net operating profit after tax, we subtract the net investment in operating capital to give us this one. 28,000, which is actually 28 million kasi in thousands yung figures natin. So 28 million is the free cash flow for 2020. Good or bad? So it's always, guys, the higher the free cash flow, the better. Bakit? Kasi yung free cash flow, it's the amount available for distribution to whom? To investors. Diba? Kasi sino ba yung nagbigay ng assets sa organization? Sa investors. And yung investors natin, twofold yan. Ang investors pwedeng creditors, pwedeng owners. So, kailangan they should be compensated for the investment they provide the firm. So sinasabi natin, free cash flow, again, sorry to keep on repeating this because I want to really hammer down this definition and this concept of free cash flow. Ito yung cash available para i-distribute natin sa mga investors. No? Investors who are creditors and shareholders after, no, pagkatapos na i-deduct natin yung cash flow requirements for operations. Kasi going concern, di ba? Bakit ba nagninegosyo? Ba't ba nag-establish ng firm? Okay, bakit? Kasi may operating objective sila. So una, from the net operating profit after tax, ibawas muna natin yung kailangan natin for operations, and then and only then can we have cash flow available for distributions to investors. Okay? Kasi kaya nga may nag-i-invest doon, whether shareholders or creditors, kasi nga, because they would want to support the operations of the firm. So ibabawas muna natin yung cash, yung requirements sa investment in operating capital bago magiging freed yung cash flow na yan for investors. Okay, so back to my question. Saan nga yung ginagamit yung free cash flow? Diba, by definition, sabi natin, it's for distribution to investors. Okay? Para sa investors yan. For distribution to them after deducting cash flow requirements for operations. Nauuna muna for operations. Tapos, kung may available pa na free cash flow, yung tinatawag natin free cash flow, no? Then, i-distribute yun para sa mga investors. Okay, number one, ano yung purpose ng free cash flow? Number one, for investors, guys, either creditors or shareholders. No? Tingnan muna natin for creditors. So what's one purpose of free cash flow? Number one is letter D. Ano? Dividend, okay? Dividend distribution. Okay, or distribution of dividends. So yung free cash flow, ginagamit yan for dividend distribution. Number two, ano pa? Ano pa? Sometimes the company can engage in what we call share repurchase. Have you heard of this, guys? Ano ibig sabihin ng share repurchase? May technical term na ginagamit. I'm sure you have learned this in your accounting. Ano to? They call it TS. What's that, guys? Ever heard of this? TS? Share repurchase? Ano tawag din, guys? Ano ibig sabihin ng share repurchase, guys? Iba-buy back ng firm yung shares of stock. Okay? Thank you, Charmaine. That's correct, no? It's treasury shares. Okay? Treasury shares are shares of stock na issued na dati and then bibilhin ulit ng company. They're going to pay it back. Buy it back, no? Now, you might ask the question, bakit kaya, ano kayang purpose ng share repurchase? Bakit kaya why will the company attempt to buy back the shares? Why do they want na mapunta ulit sa kanila yung shares of stock na yan? There are several reasons. Let's just identify a few reasons, no? Sometimes, guys, or oftentimes, the main objective of buying back shares is that it will tend to reduce yung cost of capital ng company. So this might be one effect. Naalala niyo yung WACC, weighted average cost of capital. Okay, remember yung first exercise natin na mag-i-invest ba tayo dun sa project na yon or not? And we use the weighted average cost of capital, which is the minimum hurdle rate, minimum required return for a company to engage in investments. No? So kunyari, ang WACC is 10%. Pag ang WACC 10%, guys, ibig sabihin any long-term investment should have a return greater than that cost of capital in order for it to maximize shareholder value. So the decision rule is if the project has a return less than the weighted average cost of capital, reject the project. If the project has a return greater than the weighted average cost of capital or your cost of capital, then accept the project. Because we know that by doing so, then the company will be able to maximize shareholder value. Okay? So clear yung guys, share repurchase could reduce yung cost of capital. Okay, there are other reasons which we're not going to really discuss in greater detail. The second reason could be to consolidate ownership. Consolidate ownership. Kasi pag kinuha ulit ng firm yan, so yung firm na ngayon yung may owner ng shares of stock na yun. And ibig sabihin, mas lesser yung third person na owner ng firm. No? So that's another purpose, but we're not going to go into the deeper side of that. To consolidate ownership. Another one is to increase financial metrics. So nakakatulong guys pag nagka-treasury stocks kung na yung mga ibang financial measures tumataas, no? It increases. Okay, increase financial metrics. Okay, and sometimes yung number 4 reason, and ito yung pinaka-debatable, no? Yung number 4, kasi magkakaroon tayo ng ano dito, ito explain ko, free up cash for usually mga executive officers. Ito yung bone of contention, no? Ito yung maraming executive officers usually for their executive officer bonuses. No? Okay, yan ang bone of contention, guys. Kasi pwede nilang yung share repurchase na yan, guys, pwedeng pwedeng magamit for executive officers bonuses. And so this one, guys, will result into what we call a blank problem. Anong problem yan, guys? If you recall, meron tayong isang discussion last. Yes? Anong problem kaya yan? Any guess, guys? Any guess? Okay, may sumagot. All right, Trisha, thank you so much. You're correct, no? It's called your agency problem, di ba? Agency problem to. Magkakaproblema tayo dito sa agency. Ano ba ibig sabihin, guys, sa agency? I-erase na natin to. So, gagamitin natin space dito. What's the meaning of agency? Agency, guys? Kasi yung structure ng mga ngayon, ng mga corporations, okay, dati kasi nagsimula yung origin ng mga companies, ang may-ari nun, the investor, guys, is the owner. Siya mismo. Kaya walang agency problem dun kasi any action that the owner, who's also the manager, will do, of course, has to redound to his benefit. Hindi naman siya gagawa ng mga action na ikakasira niya, di ba? But over time, guys, nag-evolve yung management ng isang business. Okay, na-develop yung what we call professional managers. Okay, yes. Thank you, Hans. That's correct, no? Magkakaroon tayo ng conflict of interest diyan. Kasi sabi ko nga, yung history But if you take a look at the history of corporations, dati, kasi maliliit lang yung companies dati, tapos yung entrepreneur, siya mismo yung manager. Over time, lumaki yung mga companies. So hindi na kaya ng ng entrepreneur. So mag-hire na siya ng mga professional managers. Ang problema, yung professional managers, gagawa sila ng decision na hindi ikakabuti ng owner, ng entrepreneur, no? But to their benefit. Okay, that's what we call the agency problem. Kasi yun ang mga structure ng mga ngayon, di ba? Structure ng mga corporations ngayon. Hindi naman dun yung mga professional managers, hindi sila may-ari eh. They're not the owners. Okay? So, as Hans mentioned a while ago, you have a conflict of interest there. Okay, yun ang problema, yung agency problem na to. Kaya nga one way to resolve this is, naalala nyo, what's one way that could perhaps mitigate against itong agency problem? You recall, guys? Anyone? Naalala nyo? It's an acronym, guys, starting with letter E.
Sir, employee stock option plan.
Yes, your ESOP, no? That's correct. Tama, no? Your ESOP, yan. Thank you, Charmaine. Nag-ESOP sila, employee stock option plan, para yung mga managers, yung mga professional managers, they're part owners of the company. So kung part owner ka ng company, syempre mababawasan yung yung desire na kumita at the expense of the firm, kasi you're also part of the firm, and any activity or anything that you'll do that will destroy the company will also destroy you, kasi part owner ka dun eh. Okay, so in a nutshell, guys, that's okay. So rini-review ko lang tong natin, ano? So dividend distribution, yung still going back to the purpose of free cash flow and what's its importance for dividend distribution, for share repurchase, ano pa? Of course, kasi ang investors natin hindi lang shareholders, pati yung mga creditors. So number 3 will be, of course, it's used for interest payments. Interest payments for the creditors, and also, ano pa? Hindi lang naman yung interest ang binabayaran, di ba? Ano pang ba binabayaran? It's also the, ano pa, guys? At the end of the term, ano yung babayaran? Letter P. Okay. Sound off na lang kung pwede. It's the, yes, correct, Charles. Thank you so much, Charles. It's the principal. So hindi lang yung hindi lang yung sino ba ako dito? It's also the principal payment. Principal payments. Okay. Would you like to have a copy of this, guys? Para andito yung notes. If you want, guys, I'll send this to you. Okay. I hope you understand my penmanship. Mahirap talaga. Okay, thank you. I'll just send you yung worksheet na ginawa na natin para may copy kayo. Okay, sige. So just, I hope you are able to, yung recording na to at saka yung writing ko, I think it's a good combination already for you to understand what's happening here. Okay, principal payments. And lastly, guys, number 5 is, sulat natin, number 5 is also investment in non-operating assets. Investments in non-operating assets. So yung free cash flow, pwedeng gamitin sa pag-i-invest sa non-operating assets. Remember, guys, sa free cash flow, tinanggal na natin yung operating requirement for operating assets, di ba? Natanggal na natin yon. So yun ang unang binawas. So kung may natira sa free cash flow, pwede nating i-invest yan sa non-operating assets. For example, acquisitions, guys, in other businesses. Okay. Ito, madalas mangyari to, especially for big firms. Acquisitions. Kunyari, si Ayala Corporation. they see, for example, that a particular industry will become a very viable business. So ang gagawin nila, mag-a-acquire sila ng stake dun sa industry na yon. Okay, that's why you have many businesses that have many SBUs. Anong ibig sabihin ng SBU? Guys, what's the meaning of SBU? What's the meaning of SBU, guys? Yeah, that's correct, no? Rafi, thank you. You're correct. It's called strategic business units, no? Magbigay tayo ng example. So, para medyo aware tayo sa mga ito. I'm sure aware naman kayo, no? SBU1, SBU2, etc., no? SBU-N. Okay, example. Sige, mother corporation, si Ayala Corp. Ayala Corporation. Ayala Corp is the holding company. Ayala Corp is the mother company. Okay? Then, itong company ito, siya nagde-decide kung saan industry sila mag-i-invest. No? Ano example ba ng mga SBU ni Ayala Corp? Anyone? Please sound off. Please sound off, guys.
Ayala Land.
Ayala Land. Okay, Ali, tama. Sino pa?
Ayala Malls, sir.
Yeah, Ayala Malls, I think, is under Ali, no? Ayala Lands. So, I'm not sure. Pero sige, ilagay na rin natin. Ayala Malls, Ali, from what I know yata. Pero sige, Ayala Malls Incorporated. Baka separate company yan. Ayala Malls Incorporated. Sino pa, guys? What other SBUs sa siyempre, BPI, no? Siyempre, Globe Telecoms. Madami. They're present in several industries. Matanong ko lang, guys, bakit kaya? Tama, Globe, no? Alveo is part of Ali, no? Ayala Land. But kaya, guys, thank you, Madeline, thank you, Hans. But kaya, guys, but kaya they invest in several SB units?
Sir, para mas mababa yung risk.
Mas mababa yung? Okay, that's very good. Tama yun, no? Okay. They engage in what we call diversification. Ang tawag dyan, guys, diversification. I'm sure you have heard of the statement that do not put all your eggs in one basket, no? Alam natin yan, no? Do not put all your eggs in one basket kasi pag nabulok yung basket na yon, wala ka na, no? Wala ka na. So the process of diversification, okay, putting your eggs in several baskets, actually, one of the main reason is to mitigate, no? Mitigate means to work against. Mitigate against risk. Okay? So it's to mitigate against risk para mabawasan yung risk. Kasi kunyari, may industry, kunyari, real estate or real estate to, no? Kunyari, bumagsak yung market na to. Chances are, may mga companies sila sa ibang industry na nagpi-pick up naman. Kunyari, telecommunications, Globe. So, nakukusyon yung loss dun sa industry na bumaba sila by the increase in other industries. Kaya nga yung diversification process, guys, okay, it means coming up with a portfolio, no? Portfolio of businesses. Ito nga yung mga SBUs. Tapos medyo pag pinag-aaralan pa yan, yung medyo dapat yung portfolio na yun pwedeng ang pipiliin natin yung mga industries na hindi highly correlated. No? Kasi pag highly correlated sila, maganda yon pag bullish yung market. Ibig sabihin pataas, pabulusok yung market. Kasi pag tumataas yung isa, tumataas din yung iba. Ang ganda nun. Pero palpak yun, guys, pag bearish yung market, B-E-A-R. Pag bearish yung market, pag bumabagsak yung isang industry, since highly correlated sila, bagsak din yung iba. Okay, well, this is really more about more on investing, no? Which we're going to talk about later in another module. But I just pinpointed this out to you. Okay, so the fifth objective, the fifth use of free cash flow is investment in non-operating assets. Okay, so clear to guys yung limang ano na to, limang gamit ng free cash flow. Is this clear? Pa-chat na lang guys kung clear siya.
Clear po, sir.
Okay, good. Okay. So, I hope guys, yung discussion natin, nakikita nyo yung importance ng finance. No? Okay, now, after we have identified the free cash flow, ang tanong ngayon ganito, okay ba no? yung performance ng company? So one way is to look at the free cash flow. Of course, the higher the free cash flow, the better. Pero hindi siya foolproof measure. Kasi paano kung sabihin ng company, sige para tumaas yung free cash flow, wag na tayo mag-invest sa net operating capital. You get the idea, guys? Kasi pag zero to, guys, di tataas yung free cash flow, di ba? Kasi ang NOPAT natin minus zero will be very high. Okay? Clear ba yan, guys? Clear? Paki-chat lang kung yes or no. As I was saying, kung sasabihin natin na ang main objective should be to increase free cash flow, the management might be tempted to zero this out. Okay? To zero that out. Yes, thank you. Pero, is that good, guys? Hindi na tayo mag-i-invest sa operating capital. Remember, guys, yung operating capital, yan ang nag-churn ng cash flow. Okay? Pag nag-i-invest tayo sa operating capital, kasi yan ang nag-generate ng pera para sa company. Yung operating capital. Yung ginagamit para sa negosyo, sa business. Yung equipment na ginagamit sa business. Yung mga ini-invest sa raw materials para sa business, sa working capital. Kasi di ba ang operating capital, it consists of working capital plus yung fixed assets, yung property, plant, and equipment. So, kung hindi na mag-i-invest yun, magiging zero to, tataas nga yung free cash flow. Pero is that good? Yun ang problema doon, no? Okay. It might be good for a short term, for this year. Pero pag hindi ka nag-i-invest sa operating capital, kasi magiging source ng cash later on yan eh. Palpak yung future mo ngayon, palpak yung next year, palpak yung next year. Okay? So hindi absolute na sinasabi natin, pag mataas yung free cash flow, okay na yan. Okay, that's not the be-all and the end-all. Okay? So what are measures that we can use aside from free cash flow? Ito guys, ROIC, which is one very important measure guys in determining kung si company ba was able to create value for their shareholders instead of destroy value. Remember, dalawa lang yung papede, no? It's either you create or generate value for the shareholders or you destroy the value. Destroy value for the shareholders. So we use this measure called ROIC, Return on Invested Capital. Okay? So ito, guys, before may mga traditional measures like ROA, ROE, no? ROS. Okay, we're going to study this later. Ito yung mga traditional measures, return on assets, return on equity, return on sales. Ang problema guys, medyo may limitations to ng mga measures na to. Okay, so it's better to make use of measures like ROIC, which is related to, mamaya titingnan natin to, MVA, market value added, and EVA, one of the most important measures, yung economic value added. Okay, so let's continue. Okay. Right, we'll be able to finish this. Okay, so how do we measure return on invested capital? Okay, ganito yung kwento niyan. Mas madali kasi guys maintindihan yung mga measures pag naiintindihan natin logic behind. Okay? So, at the beginning of the year, magkano yung provide na capital sa management? Pakisagot nga guys. Any answer to that? at the beginning of the year, how much operating capital was provided to management? Okay, any guess, guys? The answer is there. In fact, naka-flash sa screen. Okay, remember yung mga story, yung mga, ano na to, may kwento to ha. Kaya I'm 31,500, kulang pa yon. Thank you, Christian. Pero kulang yung, yung 31,500. Ang question ko, magkano yung capital na binigay sa management at the beginning of the year? Okay, how much? Okay, correct. No? 630. 630,000. Okay, that's actually 630 million. Kasi ano to in thousands. No? But I'll just read it as 630,000. So nung simula ng taon, this January 1, 2020, at their disposal, yung management had 630,000 operating capital. Take note that 661, guys, is at the end of the year. No? Kaso, magsisimula tayo sa beginning. Okay, so parang ang kwento natin, okay, management, January 1, 2020, meron kayong operating capital na 630, ha? Okay, ang tanong, how much operating profit was generated out of this 630? Yun ang tanong. Kaya nga ang formula, tingnan natin guys, ha? The formula for return on invested capital, okay, is NOPAT divided by TOC. Pag sinabing return, guys, ibig sabihin, magkano ang nakuha from the invested capital. How much was the invested capital at the beginning? 630. Magkano yung operating profit? Take note, hindi natin ginagamit yung niyat. Diba? Kasi sabi natin, mas magandang measure yung operating profit, yung NOPAT, in order to assess the performance of management. So we're not using niyat here. Okay, so ito yung reason kung bakit natin kino-compute yung NOPAT, which is higher than niyat, okay? Which of course will be quote-unquote beneficial for management kasi hindi natin inaawas, hindi natin binabawas yung interest expense. Kasi nga, hindi naman sila responsible for interest expense. Wala silang doon. Wala silang control over that. So sige, assess natin sila by their operating performance, which is NOPAT, which in this case is 59,520. So dito ko na lang kunin, no? 59,520. Tanggalin natin dollar mamaya. 59,520. Okay, yung 59,520 na to, na-generate to out of a capital of how much, guys? How much capital was used in order to generate this operating profit? Paki-sound off na lang, guys. How much? Hello? Nasagutan natin kanina yan.
630,000.
630,000. Correct, no? 630. No? So, bali, ganito yung kwento. Okay, binigyan namin kayo ng 630,000 na operating capital. Magkano operating profit ang na-generate nyo? Ito yun, 59,520. Therefore, guys, ang rate niyan, ang rate of return is yan. Diba? 9.4%. Okay, ibalik ko sa decimal. Okay. So what does this mean, guys? Ano ibig sabihin 9.4%? Tingnan natin yung ibig sabihin ng ng ratio. Ang ibig sabihin niyan, for every 1 peso na provide ng investors sa management, nakapag-generate sila ng operating profit na 9 centavos. Diba? That's what that means, diba? For every 1 peso of operating capital, beginning operating capital na binigay ng investors sa firm, nakapag-generate yung company o yung operations ng 9 centavos, 9.4 centavos. Okay, is that good, guys? Percent natin. Is that good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ang sagot dyan, guys, ganito. Okay. 9.45%. Okay. Ang tanong, magkano ba yung average cost sa firm? Magkano yung cost of capital nila? Nasa baba, guys. Yun yung row D103.
8%.
8%. 8% yung cost of capital. Okay? So on the average, the company, the cost of acquiring funds by the company is 8%. The cost naman of generating operating profit, the return naman of generating profit by the firm is 9.45%. Okay, back to my question, is that good or bad? What do you think? Is that good or bad? ROIC is 9.45%. Okay. May nag-answer yata. The cost of... Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Trisha. Thank you, Charles. You're correct, no? Tama. Kasi ang cost ng pagkuha ng capital is 8%. Okay? Tapos ang return dun sa capital is 9.45%. So this is greater than 8%, which is equal to your WACC, no? Weighted average cost of capital. Then okay, guys. So operations is performing well because the return on invested capital is 9.45% and it's greater than the weighted average cost of capital, which is 8%. So if you're asked, is the company creating value for the shareholders? The answer is yes. The firm is creating value for the shareholders based on ROIC. At 9.45%, it's greater than 8%. Okay, so let's go to other measures. No? Meron pang dalawang measures aside from ROIC. This is a very important measure. You also have the market value added, and a more robust measure is the EVA, economic EVA, no? Economic value added, which we're going to discuss now. So, clear tayo sa ROIC, guys. Clear tayo sa ROIC that based on return on invested capital, the company is creating value for the shareholders. Paki-chat nga, guys, kung clear tayo doon. Okay, thank you. Kung no questions, okay. Alright, thank you guys for answering. Okay, kaso 4 lang yung sumagot. Sana yung iba sumagot din. The rest, guys. Okay. Sige, thank you. Okay, good. Guys, pag may ganyan mga questions, I would appreciate you informing me kung may questions kayo or clear, no? That's well received yung comments yung ganyan. All right, so let's go now to MVA. Okay, so what's market value added? Yung market value added, guys, as the name suggests, market value, no? Ito yung magkano na ba yung difference ng book value, yung makikita natin sa balance sheet, at saka kung magkano ngayon talaga sa market yung value ng equity ng stock ng company. So tingnan natin yung MVA, market value added. We're given the information that as of today, December 31, 2020, the stock price of the company is 65,000. So if you're going to buy this stock in the market, you'll have to buy it for 65 pesos, no? Not 65,000, sorry, 65 pesos. So how are we going to compute for the market value ng company ngayon? Kailangan alam natin yung number of shares. Okay, we have 15 million shares. So kasi in thousands lahat ng figure na to. So dapat yung number of shares natin dapat in thousands din. Okay, so we have 15,000 shares. Therefore, ang market value natin is equal to magkano yung per share multiplied by the number of shares. Okay, so ito guys yung yung market value natin. Okay, ang tanong, magkano yung equity natin? Sa books, guys, magkano yung value ng equity natin? So we look at the balance sheet. Sa balance sheet, ang lumalabas, yung common equity natin is this amount. Okay? 544,538. As of December 31, 2020, yung value ng common equity natin, yung book value, is 544,538. Okay, so I copied that here. Okay. Therefore, we can now compute for the market value added, which is just the difference between the market value, magkano yung market value ngayon ng equity versus yung book value, magkano yung value na makikita natin sa balance sheet. And we say that the difference between the market value now and the book value is 530,462. Okay, so was value created for the firm? The answer is yes. If the market value added is positive, then there was value created for the firm. Okay, so just to summarize, the market value added again, it just gets the difference between how much is equity, total equity now in the books, in the balance sheet. Tapos magkano siya, kung ibebenta natin ngayon, kunyari, magkano siya sa market. So the difference between that is market value added. Okay? Okay, and market value added is, that's important for a variety of reasons, which I will be requiring you to read about ano importance ng MVA at saka ng EVA. No? Okay, I will leave that to you for your research. Basa, tingnan kung ano ba yung purpose ng MVA at saka EVA. So let's go now to EVA, another very important measure, which ako personally, I feel that your EVA is more important really than MVA. No? Okay, sige. Kwentuhin natin to guys yung ano. Magkwento ulit tayo ng ano yung kwento nitong EVA natin. Okay. Simulan natin dito yung formula, no? So, the management was able to generate operating profit. Alam na ba natin itong NOPAT, guys? Do we know how much NOPAT is?
Yes, sir.
Okay, na-compute na natin yan, di ba? 59,520. Okay. Question. How was this generated, guys? How was your NOPAT generated? May capital bang provide? Class, may capital bang provide sa management? Oo, di ba? Diba? At the beginning of the year, how much was capital provided to management? Balikan natin yung kwento na yun. How much was capital provided to management, guys?
Sir, 630,000.
Yeah, 630, ba? Alam natin yan. At the beginning of the year, binigyan yung management ng 630. Okay, question. Kung ikaw shareholder or kung ikaw creditor, nagbigay ka ng puhunan dun sa company, no, in the form of an investment. Okay, question. Libre ba yun, paggamit na yun? Ang provide mo na investment? Magbibigay ka lang ba, guys, na kasi feel mo yung company na yan? Ah, okay. Barkada ko yung may-ari niyan. Sige. Mag-i-invest ako dyan. Sorry?
No po.
No, of course not. Bakit, guys? Yeah, no, correct. No, bakit? Kasi remember, guys, yung investors, hindi naman laway ang pinoprovide niyan. Di ba? Hindi naman encouragement. Sige, tuloy-tuloy mo yan. Hindi. Pag encouragement lang binibigay mo, hindi ka investor. Siguro moral support ang tawag doon. Pag investor ka, technically, nagpapasok ka ng pera. Okay. Now, kung nagpasok ako dyan ng pera, pwede ko yung pera na pinasok ko dyan, kunyari 1 million. Could I have used that elsewhere?
Yes po.
Yes, I could have used that elsewhere where I would have earned money, di ba? Correct? Tama, guys?
Yes po.
Okay. Now, anong tawag natin doon? May tawag doon, may term doon na hindi ako papayag na wala akong makukuha diyan, no? Kahit barkada tayo. Investment 'yan eh. Okay? It doesn't matter kung barkada tayo kasi meron akong tinatawag na yung whole name. Yan. Anong tawag yan, guys? What's that? Which is the concept ng economic value added. Anyone? Any guess? Importante yan, guys, no? That's the reason why kahit na friend mo yung creditor, o kahit na friend mo yung shareholder, hindi yan magpapasok ng pera. Let's assume na normal yung thinking ng ayan. Thank you, Rafi, you're correct, no? Rafi, may mic ka ba? Okay, baka walang mic si Rafi, but that's correct, no? Opportunity cost of capital lang tawag dyan, no? Opportunity cost of capital. Any normal rational being will not just put money in an investment vehicle kung alam niyang wala siyang makukuha doon kasi meron tayong opportunity cost eh. You could have put that in another vehicle, in another investment, which would have earned you money. Okay? Kaya ang kwento niyan ganito. Okay, binigyan tayo ng beginning capital na magkano? How much was our beginning capital? Andito yun, 630. Okay. So yung 630 na yan, guys, NOPAT, meron na rin tayo, no? Kunin natin NOPAT. NOPAT is, dito natin kunin para, dito pala. NOPAT is 59,520. Tanggalin na lang natin mamaya yung dollars yan. Ha? Okay, so, okay, ganito kwento guys. Sorry kasi mas madali maintindihan yung concept pag kunikwento natin. Pag naintindihan natin what's the logic behind this. So, nag-generate yung operations, yung management ng 59,520. Okay, good or bad? Okay, good or bad? Teka muna, sabihin natin. Hindi naman yung yung na-generate yan, binigyan sila ng capital, operating capital na magkano? At the beginning of the year, 630 ang pinrovide sa sa management. Okay, libre ba yan? Hindi. Hindi libre yung 630 na yan, may opportunity cost yan. So magkano natin i-charge yung management for the use of this 630? Okay, i-charge natin yan with the WACC, cost of capital ng company. On the average, it costs the company around 8% to acquire capital. So, let's charge management for the use of this 630. Okay, kasi hindi free yung 630 na yan. Kasi nga may opportunity cost. So, magkano yung i-charge natin sa kanya? 630,000 multiplied by the 8%. Okay? Ito yung tinatawag nating cost of using the beginning capital. Okay. So magkano guys yung operating profit ni company, ni Advance? 59,520. Paano na-generate to? Gumamit siya ng operating capital ng 630. Libre ba to? Hindi. Magkano yung cost niyan? 8%. In money terms, magkano yung cost sa paggamit ng 630 for one whole year? 50,400. Magkano yung generate na operating profit? 59,520. Magkano yung cost na paggamit ng capital? 50,400. Therefore, guys, yung difference nito, yung NOPAT natin, at saka yung cost sa paggamit ng capital is 9,120. Positive? Yes, positive. So was value created for the investors? Yes, value was created for the investors. For as long as your EVA is positive, ibig sabihin nun, nag-create tayo ng operating profit na mas mataas pa kaysa dun sa cost ng paggamit ng capital. Okay, is the story clear, guys?
Yes po.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
good, good. Pause muna ako. Is there any question? Okay, good. So may I have your feedback, guys? Kung clear yung concept ng EVA?
Clear naman po.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for the feedback. Okay, ngayon ang tanong, no? Paano kung negative yung yung EVA? Okay, so I'd like you to find out about that, no? Possible ba na na negative yung EVA? Yes, possible yun, guys. No? Ano yung mga possibility? Number one, mababa yung NOPAT, no? Mababa yung NOPAT. Kunyari, kung ang NOPAT natin, example lang, kung ang NOPAT natin 40,000 lang. If our NOPAT was 40,000, tapos parehong operating capital yung ginamit, parehong cost of capital, okay, the cost of using the capital is 50,400. Therefore, your EVA will be negative, di ba? So, in general, guys, pag negative yung EVA, we say that value was destroyed. Hindi to value creation, but value destruction. Okay? So, ang tanong, will there be an instance when kahit na negative yung EVA, value was still created? Okay, I'd like you to research on that. I'd like you to find out kung if there are instances when the EVA is negative then and still value was created by the company. Okay. Okay. Now, so what was our EVA? EVA was 9,120. So paano natin kinompute si EVA? We started with the NOPAT. Okay. Then we used the beginning capital and charge it by the after-tax cost of capital to get the charge on capital. Then ninet natin siya with NOPAT to get 9,120. Okay, question. I'll give you 1 minute, 2 minutes. How can we compute for the EVA? So we would like to know how to compute for the EVA. Okay, in another way, no? So if we know ROIC, okay, di ba sabi natin kanina, si ROIC natin is 9.45%. Si WACC natin is 8%. So ibig sabihin nun, guys, okay yung natin, okay yung performance natin, no? Based on the ROIC, 9.45% greater than 8%. So we know that value was created by virtue of the fact that ROIC was greater than WACC. Okay, let me ask you guys is there another way to compute for your EVA without going to the beginning operating capital? Okay, but just using this. Sorry. Ang gusto natin, guys, yung EVA. So what's another way to compute for your EVA? Making use of, ginamit natin si NOPAT dito. So pareho lang yon. Pero hindi natin ginamit dito si ROIC. Ginamit natin si WACC. So dito ang ginamit natin, guys, is the TOC, Beginning Total Operating Capital. Dito naman ang gamitin natin si WACC. So I'll give you 1 minute to try to find out if we can compute EVA based on NOPAT, ROIC, and WACC. Pakitry nga, guys. Okay, we have an answer here. Total assets minus current liabilities, percent. ROIC minus WACC times. Is this total assets?
Sir, yes po.
Did you get 9120? Kindly check, no? Kindly check kung if that will give you the 9120. Any suggestion, guys? We need to determine the economic value added, yung EVA natin. Any guess? One last minute. No guess? Okay, so let's, sabi natin guys, yung NOPAT natin, 59,520. May ROIC na tayo, di ba? ROIC natin is 9.45. Okay, may humabol na answer. NOPAT minus. NOPAT minus. Malapit na, Madeline, no? Thank you for answering. May isang mali lang dyan, no? May isang mali. Medyo na pang interchange yung yung value. No? So, sige, tuloy ko Magkano yung WACC natin? WACC is 8%. No? Okay. So, ganito, kwento lang din guys, kwento lang. Kumita tayo ng 59,520, di ba? Right? Kaso, may cost yung paggamit natin ng capital. Magkano yung cost ng paggamit ng capital, guys? 8%. Magkano yung return natin dun sa NOPAT natin? How much, guys, was the return for the use of the total operating capital? 9.45%. So, i-net natin. So, 9.45% minus yung cost of capital na to. So, we know the NOPAT, kaso hindi lahat yan, hindi lahat yan pwede natin makredit, no? Kailangan, ay mali, wait. Sorry. NOPAT, mali pala ako Sorry, sandali. NOPAT, then mali ito. This is not the correct answer kasi dapat ang lalabas sa atin, it should be 9120.
Sir, pwede patingin ng formula ulit.
Oo, kasi ang ginawa ko lang, NOPAT, then inano ko yung ninet ko siya. Ninet
Sir,
ko.
try nyo po baliktaran yung minus tsaka multiply.
Minus.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Wala, percent lang to, no? Times nito.
Apo.
Yan.
Apo.
Pero bakit ito times natin yung ano? Ito
Sir,
times,
yun po yung nakita ko sa na formula.
this will go back to, ano, this will go back to 59,520. No? So you're saying it's NOPAT minus, ano? Minus
Yes, sir.
ROIC times WACC?
Yes, sir.
Hindi, sorry, hindi siya. Kasi bakit natin i-multiply si ROIC at saka si WACC? Okay, there's no sense in multiplying the ROIC with the okay, sandali 630 wait. Mukhang mali yung ano ko. Huh? So, sandali. How much was the capital? At the beginning, capital was 630. So, ito na siguro. 630 times, okay. Ayun, okay. All right. Okay, so sorry, no? Ang kailangan natin, not the NOPAT, but the TOC. Beginning TOC. Okay, sorry, I got confused with the formula. Okay, ulitin natin So, binigyan tayo ng TOC, no? Na 630. Yan. Clear sa atin yun, no? TOC at the beginning of the period was 630. Ang kinita natin dyan, 9.45%. Right? Ang cost sa paggamit ng capital na to, 8%. So what we do now is equal to yung binigay sa atin na capital, okay? I-multiply natin ng, kung minultiply lang natin ito, yung kinita natin, ba? Ito yung NOPAT natin. Ito yung beginning capital natin, tapos i-multiply natin sa return ng capital na yan, that will give us our NOPAT. Okay, kaso, guys, hindi naman kasi free yung paggamit ng capital, kaya i-charge sa atin, i-minus natin sa ROIC, yung cost to use the capital, which is 8%. Yan. Okay. So yung concept dyan, guys, is subtract yung WACC dun sa ROIC, not multiply. Kasi ninenet natin Remember the rates, no? Kita ng 9.45%, cost ng 8%, ineto natin yan. Kumita nga tayo ng 9.45, 9.4%, pero may cost naman yung paggamit ng capital na 8%. So we have to subtract that, no? Para makuha natin yung net. Yung net natin na 1.45%, yun ang kinita natin dun sa capital na ginamit natin na 630,000. So that's now your 9120, which is your EVA. Yun. Okay? So sorry, mali ako kanina na ginamit ko yung NOPAT. Dapat parang ganito, guys, no? Umutang tayo ng 630. Diba? Ginamit natin ang capital ng 630. Tapos tatanungin ka, kumita ka ba dyan sa capital na yan? Oo. Magkano yung kinita mo? 9.45%. So paano mo mako-compute yung kinita mo? Eh di yung capital ng 630 multiplied by 9.5%, di ba? Kasi yun yung kinita natin Pero may second part pa yung kwento. Yung 9.45% na yan, i-charge tayo dyan. Kasi hindi naman free yung paggamit ng 9.45% na yan. Magkano i-charge sa atin? 8%. Okay. So ang neto lang natin nakita, 1.45%. 1.45% dun sa capital binigay sa atin. Diba? 630,000 yung binigay sa atin na capital. Kumita tayo dyan ng net na 1.45%. Saan nakuha yung 1.45%? ROIC na 9.45% minus the WACC of 8.8%. Okay? So just conceptually, guys, mina-minus yun yung ROIC sa WACC. Okay? Hindi siya minumultiply. Okay, clear, guys? So this is another way to compute for the EVA. Hindi natin ginamit yung NOPAT. Ang ginamit natin yung beginning capital and then ginamit natin yung ROIC and the WACC. Okay, questions? Kasi kung ano lang ulit. Sorry guys for asking you always this ha. Is it clear guys? Clear ba yung ano? Clear ba yung discussion natin ng ROIC, ng EVA, at saka ng MVA? Paki-chat please. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, very good, very good. So next week ba exam natin guys? Next week mukhang ready na kayo, di ba? Next week ba?
After Holy Week, sir, sabi niyo. Yung sa 6.
Sir, April 6.
Oh, joke lang. Kala ko baka makalusot eh. Sige, after Holy Week. Okay. We have a few more minutes left. Pakita ko lang guys yung mga yung mga gagawin natin susunod. Okay. Hindi yan. Okay, simulan na natin to. Kasi I think this is how the farthest we can go. Yung pag-compute ng common size statement. Okay. Ano yung common size statement? Anyone heard of this term, common size statement? Okay. Ang common size statement, guys, you convert everything into percentages. And then you peg it or you benchmark it against a particular value. So it's like percentage of what? Percentage of what? Okay, so common size, sulat ko dito. Pag sinabing common guys, common, di ba sa Tagalog ano ba ibig sabihin ng common? Guys, ano ibig sabihin ng common sa Tagalog? Filipino, ano ibig sabihin ito? Common guys is, hello guys.
Madalas.
Ha? Sa Filipino, common is karaniwan, okay? Pwede yun. Or, well, technically, it's parang pareho, no? Common sa lahat yan, or madalas, okay? Pwede rin yan. Pag sinabi natin common size, pareho sa lahat. Okay, that's what this means, common size. So pag gumawa tayo ng common size sa income statement, at saka sa balance sheet, at saka sa statement of cash flows, pinapareho natin yung lahat, no? Pinapareho natin. So, sulat ko lang dito, kapag income statement, pareho siya sa sales. Kapag sa balance sheet, pareho siya sa total assets or total liabilities. Okay. So let's do this. Gawin natin common size nito, no? So ang ibig sabihin ng common size sa income statement, pareho sa sales. Therefore, your sales becomes ito yung 100%. Tapos sa balance sheet naman, your total assets or total liabilities and equity, no? Total equity. Kasi yung total assets, the same naman yan as total liabilities and equity. So, these two become 100%. Okay. So the rest are compared to your benchmarks, to your common accounts. So, ganito lang yan, no? Ay. Sorry, na-stop share ko. Mali yung napindot ko. Okay, so let's take a look first at the income statement. So lahat dapat guys, i-compare natin sa sales. So this will be equal to what? So for 2019, it will be equal to sales 2019. So you remember guys, paano natin bibigyan ng pangalan to? Remember? So let's give this a name para mas mabilis tayo, no? I'll call this sales 2019. I'll just write here, sales 2019. Yan. So this is now called sales 2019. Kita nyo yung pangalan dito? And this one I'll call sales 2020. So when we create our common size, it will be your sales 2019 divided by sales 2019. So magiging ano siya, 100%. How about this, guys? Your cost of goods sold for 2019 divided by S sales 2019. So it always will be divided by sales 2019. Okay, I have a few more minutes. So anuhin ko lang to, no? So enter. So when I copy this down, lahat sila, lahat yung formula nyo, lahat with respect to 2019. Okay, di ba? Yun ang ibig sabihin ng common size, no? Pag income statement siya, guys, lahat dinidivide natin ng sales ng specific ng sales of that particular year. So ito naman, so this will be equal to, dito ako magsisimula, this amount divided by sales 2020. Sales 2020. Enter. So if you go up there, ayan. And if you go down here, ayan. Okay? So sa balance sheet naman, guys, it will be divided by the total assets. So pwede natin bigyan to ng pangalan total assets 2019, this one. Okay, so let me just end in this, guys, total assets. Remember, ang pangalan dapat isang ano lang, total assets 2019. Ito, let's call this total assets 2020. So everything here, guys, should be divided by this one, divided by total, yeah, may total assets tayo, no? Total assets 2019. Then we copy that, tingnan nyo. Itong total na to, 100% siya. Tapos ito naman is equal to yung cash ng 2020 divided by total, I'm typing TOT, total assets ng 2020. Okay, that's it, guys, no? So pakitapos na lang tong ano. Okay, you can either use this, total liabilities and equity, or you can still use this. Kasi pareho lang naman siya, no? So let me just write that. This one divided by total assets ng 2019. Ganun din naman yun, no? Okay. Kita nyo 100% to. And lastly, guys, is equal to this one divided by total assets ng 2020. Enter. Okay. All right. It's already time, guys. So we'll pick it up from here next meeting. So itutuloy natin to, no? So that's the common size statement. Okay. Are there any questions? Okay. No questions. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. You have a blessed weekend. Keep safe, everyone. This pandemic, delikado, no? So keep safe. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
I
sir.
have my attendance checked, sir.
Yes, I'll
Thank you po,
check.
sir.
Sige, I'll check the attendance. Stop.